It started with a gate. A simple black metal gate the HOA said we couldn't install even though the driveway was on our property. My name's Jake, and until the day our family got into a war with the HOA, we were just another quiet household in the upscale neighborhood of Meadowbrook Reserve. You know the type: manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, monthly newsletters about pet leash policies, and approved flower colors for your garden. Our home sat at the very edge of the neighborhood, technically the final house on the block. But our driveway? It actually curved around the side of a private hill and ended on a patch of land my family owned long before Meadowbrook Reserve was even built. That driveway had been poured by my grandfather. It led to our garage, our home, and the life we built. And suddenly, the HOA decided it wasn't ours to use. They claimed some obscure easement clause, buried deep in the community documents, gave them shared access rights. Their argument? Since a portion of our driveway crossed into land near the community walking trail land that, by the way, they never maintained, they had the authority to regulate access. And they used that to justify banning us from parking on it, paving it, or even stepping foot past a certain point without authorization. My mom thought it was some kind of mistake. My dad? He knew better. See, my dad wasn't just any homeowner. He was a regional banker, the kind of guy who knew how to read fine print, see through financial games, and more importantly, who had power over money. A lot of money, including the loans and credit lines that kept Meadowbrook's HOA running smoothly in the background. The first time the HOA towed my car off our own driveway, it felt surreal. My dad didn't raise his voice. He didn't file a complaint. He didn't even show up to the HOA's emergency meeting where they accused us of violating neighborhood harmony. He just smiled and said one thing to me: they just leveraged the wrong asset. What I didn't know then was that my dad had already started pulling threads. He began digging through their financials, public records, loan filings, credit activity. As a banker, he had access to data the average person couldn't even imagine. And what he found? The HOA was overleveraged. They had taken out 3 large loans over the last 5 years for amenities upgrades, a fancy playground, some landscaping contracts, and an unfinished clubhouse renovation that had bled their cash reserves dry. All those loans came from a community bank that operated under a credit consortium. And guess who oversaw that consortium? Yup, my dad. He didn't move fast. He moved smart. He started by reviewing the HOA's payment behavior. Then he quietly flagged their risk status as under observation, which allowed his bank to put certain disbursements on hold pending review. He didn't deny anything, he simply paused it. A month went by. Suddenly, HOA landscaping stopped. The new sidewalk lighting? Delayed. Trash collection contract? Being renegotiated, they claimed in a newsletter. But inside our home, we knew the truth. Dad was slowly choking the financial lifeline that gave the HOA its power. Then came the kicker. The HOA president, a smug guy named Keith who wore sweater vests even in the summer, sent a formal cease and desist letter accusing us of willful trespassing on shared community infrastructure. His evidence? Security cam footage of me pulling into our garage. It was absurd. And so my dad made his move. He didn't just freeze their current disbursements. He contacted the board of the bank consortium and laid down a case: mismanagement, misuse of borrowed funds, and financial behavior that placed them in default risk territory. Within days, every line of credit tied to Meadowbrook Reserve's HOA was frozen pending full audit. And just like that, the HOA couldn't pay their vendors, couldn't process payroll, couldn't even make the minimum payments on their loans. Panic hit. They held an emergency meeting to review budget shortfalls. They blamed the economy, inflation, supplier delis, everything except the real reason. They picked a fight with a banker and got outplayed. Still, we didn't say a word. We kept living our lives, quietly, peacefully, until Keith showed up on our porch. That's when the story took an even darker turn.